But we want to like try and refrain from too much editing. Like,
We just say not too much editing. Takes a lot of time.
See, I'm not sure if you went all the way back through the chat, but Tashoma laid out a couple of principles for how he's thinking about not editing these episodes, you know, to show the growth of us as a team and the way we think and, you know, get better at talking. But also just, I mean, that's transparency, which is a necessary ingredient in decentralization, right? We hope to kind of model this by saying, look, here's an uncut conversation. Maybe there's a cringeworthy moment now and then, but that's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my argument was that's what's missing in this space. I mean, it seems like everyone is an expert or a guru. No one's like humble enough to just be a student and like to be open about, hey, I'm still learning this just like everyone else. So I think that'd be a really...
Is it me? I think your audio is not. It's breaking up a little bit.
Oh, okay, let me.
Oh, and Joshua says, "Let me in."
Okay. Oh, there he is. Okay.
I do love Teshoma's animation, though. That little opening is enough to make it look pretty professional.
Oh, yeah.
Where is he? Oh.
So did we decide on a theme for this podcast? I know there were a lot of conversations in the Slack channel about what we might want to connect about.
So today we're supposed to be talking about the different ideas that we could implement using Marlowe, and we're just kind of trying to like talk about each of them and come to a decision as to which one is the lowest hanging fruit.
Nice. And when we have that conversation, can you maybe share your screen so there's a visual list of that?
Yes, so I will record on this computer. I will give everyone permission to share their screen. So at any point, if you want to share your screen, you should be able to do that.
And I could even take the list that you posted to Shoma and just make it clean bullet points real quickly.
Sure, yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay, good.
Joshua.
What's up, Tashoma?
How's it going?
Good. How you doing? How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Awesome. All right. So when you guys are ready to just give it a go, let me know. And
DC, what's up, man?
Good. How you living?
Great.
Good, man. Yeah, I can go first if that's cool. Unless you want to.
Are you still good with that opening animation? Where'd he go? Yeah, Dwayne, totally. Get started when we've got him back. I don't know if he's got some opening words or something though.
Sure. I'm just reading some of Boone's messages about this, the Marlowe dev that he had on Makerspace.
Nice.
Trying to see if we can get him over here.
Yeah, no, I didn't even catch you up on that, but yeah, his ideas were actually pretty aligned with ours about how that and this can coexist and kind of inform each other. So we can talk about that at the end.
Totally.
Yep.
Tashoma, is it a fair amount of editing just to drop that animation on the beginning of each episode? Just
no,
that?
Yeah, no. Like I've got it set up so we have like a template.
Awesome.
So once we have the recording, I can literally just drag and drop it in and add it to the beginning and the music.
And sponsoring musicians sounds like a really cool idea as soon as we can get some lined up for that.
Joshua, would you happen to know any upcoming musicians in Nigeria that you could just like quickly get onto Cardano and then we can like put their donation address at the end of the video or something?
I can look out for those actually, but I don't know anybody personally.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
do
good.
know some folks in South Africa, so some folks that know musicians. So that's something that we can probably bring on as well.
That'd be cool. All right, so we may as well get started now. It's 7:08. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of the AfroFinLab podcast. Sydney, you just want to quickly go over again of what the AfroFinLab is about and what we stand for?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So AfroFinLab is sort of a subsidiary of the Sixth Region Alliance, which is a group that we pulled together, basically to talk about Cardano, to talk about Africa, what's happening on the continent, also what's happening in the diaspora, finance, and also future tech. So yeah, we're here to talk about, our preferred blockchain is Cardano, and then, everything beyond that. So
Everything beyond that, wicked. So I think we should just quickly give ourselves a quick introduction for those who weren't around on episode 1 and 2. My name is Tashoma Bellini. I'm based in Montreal. I work in film. I've been working with and investing in and dorking out over blockchain and cryptocurrencies since probably around 2012, 2013. And I'm really excited today to be around a bunch of other people with a shared focus on integrating Africa into the blockchain economy and seeing the amount of progress that can be made when people take the ethics of decentralization. That's me.
Beautiful.
Come on, guys. Who's next? James?
My name is James. I live on the East Coast of the United States. I'm an educator and a blockchain enthusiast, and I have a lot of ideas for what decentralization and Cardano in particular might do for individual people and local communities. So really excited to talk about that with all of you.
Hi guys. Joshua, okay, you can go first because DC.
One at a time. Let's have Dwayne go first.
All right.
All right, hi guys. My name is DC, Dwayne Cameron. I'm also on the East Coast. I work in consulting. Big Cardano fan since the jump, pretty much. I'm a part of the Fund One Project Catalyst group. We're looking at funding different builders, entrepreneurs, devs, to really bootstrap, that Cardano innovation. Got a lot of really cool ideas and funding to back them. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Nice. Joshua?
Hey guys, Joshua here. I'm in Nigeria actually, been fascinated by Cardano since 2017, and I have been active in Cardano community since 2018. So I basically educate my community about Cardano, and co-founded Proof of Africa last year alongside Max. Max is also, and pretty much just put out educational materials out there for young Africans to actually utilize and educate themselves to understand what the future of blockchain is, and also what Cardano can do for Africa. So very excited to be here with everybody. Everybody has experience and very smart, so very, very excited to be with you guys. Thank you.
Mercy?
Hey. Yeah, so my name is Mercy. I'm using Adoma this time because that's what I was known as when I was in Ghana. Now I live in Canada, West Coast, and well, not West Coast because we're sort of landlocked here in Alberta, but the western side of Canada. And I just love the possibilities that a blockchain brings, especially Cardano, and what it can do for Africa, or especially West Africa. So that's what brings me here, and I'm very happy to be here.
Wicked.
I'll go ahead and round it out. And my name is Sydney Nicholas. I am in the Midwest. I found blockchain probably around 2013, 2014. My background is as an analyst, and I recently changed my career, and now I'm doing more kind of financial planning stuff. But really excited about possibilities of Cardano. Think it's an amazing project in the space, and then also very committed to the continent of Africa as well as the diaspora, so that we just are able to take advantage of these technologies in order to continue to grow into the future.
Right, wicked. And let's just clarify the goals for this podcast. Keeping in mind that we all met on the web forum for the Cardano Summit. So Joshua or Sydney, anyone want to like just quickly go over like what the goals are for this podcast? Why we call it AfroFinLab?
Go ahead, Joshua, you can jump in.
What the goals are for this podcast. Is that correct? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's basically to educate all range of age of people from young to old, make them understand.
Okay, but let's cut the crap. Like, who is our podcast for? Like, let's just be direct about that.
Africans. To me, Africans. Africans. The podcast is for Africans. It's in the name, AfroFinLab. So,
there we go. Yeah. So we just want to make it clear. So we all kind of like grouped together around the idea of spreading blockchain in Africa. Being as that's one of Cardano's main goals for 2021 and beyond. To expand in Africa, we wanted to create a podcast serving Africans directly, as we kind of felt that like Black people of African descent were quite like underrepresented in the blockchain community space. So yeah, that's kind of why we got together. Wicked. All right, so today's episode, we're going to be discussing a few ideas which a number of us have kind of put together as to like what kind of things we could build on Cardano once we have smart contracts. So for listeners who aren't aware, smart contracts are a way for us to be able to send money automatically based on certain conditions. So if this, then send the money to party A or party B. Am I giving a good explanation for that, guys? What do you think?
I think that might be something that we maybe all kind of jump in on, and because it's one of those things that it's probably a little tough to understand right off the bat. So maybe a few different perspectives might be helpful.
So let me have to pick someone. Come on, guys.
Come on, you're the man today. We're waiting for you to Shoma.
Shoma, I think one way we could think of it is the same contract that you use today to settle a legal dispute, to buy a house, right? The smart contract concept is just to automate that by putting that same exact contract into code and into software that executes on chain, right? When those conditions that you met, right? If X money received by Y date, housing deed or deed to property goes to Y buyer, right? Like that is the essence of a smart contract.
So if I hear you correctly, DC, what you're saying is we're disrupting the entire law system by having contracts that do not need lawyers to execute them.
Contracts that don't need banks, that don't need insurance companies, that don't need, data providers and those, third-party data marketplaces that kind of hoard over all of our data when we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So it's more than just, legal. Like you talk about law, and that's definitely a whole class that's about to be disrupted, but finance, identity systems, government services, right? Like all of these different aspects that rely on this idea of establishing trust to hold a contract in place. Smart contracts are here to disrupt that entire field. So it's like, you try to put a number on like the market value of trust, but I think they do like global estimates on, how many trillions of dollars worth the actual cost of trust each year costs global markets, and it's massive. To me, in my opinion, like the input of smart contracts is to revolutionize all of that. And you kind of already see that starting in finance and insurance and law, like you said, Sydney, right? Like you see open law, these type of DSLs that run on Ethereum today, their entire purpose is to, automate the entire process of hiring a lawyer, filing and resolving a dispute. Like these type of things can all be solved just through, arbitrary smart contracts built in an open law DSL.
And can you explain what a DSL is?
Sure. Yeah. A DSL would be a domain specific language, right? So Cardano has one called Marlowe, right? And we all know we're talking about financial contracts. So Marlowe's ability is anyone who's actually a finance expert, say a business student, an econ student, a finance, maybe even a dev or an entrepreneur who has an idea that relates to peer-to-peer or some sort of financial contract. If this happens, then Y gets money or Y gets product or service, right? These type of deals. Marlowe allows you to build that in a way that you don't actually need to code. You can just use something called Blockly to actually plug and play with these different, what I call money Legos, until you build up an entire financial contract. The idea is you restrain things that the developer can do in a program like a DSL, but it actually emphasizes the ability for domain experts, right? In this case, finance experts, to be able to build things quickly without needing a dev. Open law is the same concept for legal contracts. So that exists today on Ethereum, right?
Wow. So that was a great explanation, but what's the real benefit here for just the everyday person, right? Say I'm a startup founder. Why would I choose a smart contract over, getting a lawyer I might be acquainted with?
I'll jump in real quick because you have to trust those people, right? So we trust our lawyers, we trust our bankers, we trust our utility companies, we trust our internet service provider, we trust when we're buying a home, we trust the realtor, the lender, and oftentimes these folks don't have our best interest in mind, which is fine because they should have their best interest in mind. So what this does is I think it creates a lot more efficiency in the system so that the agreements that we come to the table with are the agreements that end up being executed in a contract. And to DC's point, once these illegal agreements are inside of a contract, those contracts can be executed automatically without the use of basically human intervention. So at some level, we're just moving to a place where we're going to be trusting the computers more because they tend to do things. They tend to do things in a way that is consistent.
Okay. So at this point, I reckon we should probably just go over a few of the ideas which were mentioned, because then you can get a better, picture as to just how much this might impact society. So, one of them was how to create a decentralized smart contract to exchange crypto for cash. Can someone explain how that would work?
Yeah. I could take a stab at it real quick. It kind of goes back to Shoma, to your example. You said, how do smart contracts impact a startup today, right? And that's one of the things I think about, how expensive is it to send payments across, the border, basically. For instance, I was studying in the UK, and to get someone to send me a payment from America, costed somewhere between 1% to 2%, sometimes 3% if you wanted to go quickly, of the entire worth of the transaction, right? This is you're talking about eating into a real amount of the actual notional dollar value of what's being sent at that point when you're paying that much in fees. When it's remittances like Western Union and these type of places that, a lot of people actually depend on to send money, to the Philippines, and I have family in the Caribbean, it's, closer to 10, 15%. Blockchain allows you to basically, with just an address, with just a public key and a wallet, right, that someone controls, usually on their cell phone, allows you to send for pennies, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? We've seen all the time, millions of dollars exchanged on Bitcoin for 50 cents, right? The idea is that by decoupling this idea of a fixed transaction cost with just the idea of the cost of sending that transaction across the network based on the current, pool of transactions, how underloaded the network currently is, basically there's a 10x decrease in transaction costs that you get when you use the blockchain, usually minimum. So you're talking about a whole order of magnitude of cost savings for that business that needs to, hire a dev that might not live in that country or wants to, send payments back to their family abroad. So just payments alone is massive in terms of blockchain and smart contracts.
So why haven't we seen this yet? I mean, everyone's been talking about the remittance, the efficiency with remittances for Bitcoin and stuff like that. And that's been like 9 years. So how come we haven't seen that yet?
I think there's two things, and I want to let other people hop in here, so I'll be quick. I think the first one is cash in, cash out, right? And that's this idea that, yeah, you can send Bitcoin when it was cheap to send, back in 2011, 2010, not now. And Ethereum, back when it was cheap to send, you could send it for pennies, cross back and forth. But to get into that local currency, right? To get into the South African Rand or to get into mobile money or M-Pesa if I wanted that instead, that's where the kind of pain point lies. And that's where we haven't innovated in the past, however many years. And I think, that's a tough thing right there in itself, because you have to really think through, how are people actually getting into crypto? What are the centralized exchanges, the ATMs, the in and out points that allow someone to go from, M-Pesa into Cardano into ADA, right? Like how easy is that process? It's not right now. So I think we have to think through that.
I want to ask Mercy a question. Mercy, have you sent money from Canada to Ghana?
I do.
You do?
On a regular basis, yeah.
How is that process for you now? And have you sent crypto from Canada to Ghana?
I would love to, because that would be cheaper, because in the past, as DC was saying, it would be Western Union, right? And they would take, say, for 100 Canadian dollars, they would take about $11, which is, that's about 11%, right? So if you are sending, of course, if you are sending very large sums, the percentage or the, however money they take, it does sort of go down proportionally, but it's still significant. I'm not able to send crypto. Why? Because the person on the other side of, on the receiving end needs to, first of all, know about crypto. They need to have a wallet, like it really gets very complicated very easily. So, no, at this point, it's not something that it's easy to do. Whereas with Western Union or some of the solutions that are coming these days, is just people have phones, and you just they call it mobile money. Okay. So you just send it, and like within minutes it's on their phone. But that also has significant costs. Yeah,
I mean, the other day I used Western Union to send money to Senegal, and it was really simple. Really simple. My phone, I can just go directly from my bank account, send it to Senegal, and I think I had to pay like a $5 fee for the amount that I was sending, which is still a lot of money. But in terms of convenience, it was really easy. I'd love to see crypto get to that stage where it's like, people don't even have to exchange out of crypto. It'd be great if we got to the stage where, we could just send a stable coin to Nigeria, and people could just use and transact with that stable coin. Does anyone want to explain what a stable coin is for us?
Yeah, we can take a stab, but before we do that, and James, I see you're about to drop something. I just want to say, this concept of, sending money into a smart contract that then converts it into a local currency, that's something we actually already have right now in Cardano, right? Like AdaPay is a solution that was built with, I think Cody is the protocol that built AdaPay, and the Cardano Foundation paid for them to build out this entire, payment network for Cardano, right? Like what it takes to get a dev to integrate AdaPay into M-Pesa or into mobile money, so that I go, I send to a specific address, right, that actually gets it converted through this AdaPay smart contract into their local currency or M-Pesa, right? Like that is something that we need to be, I think, talking about now, because we have that ability. But James, what were you going to say? Sorry, I didn't.
To show them any questions about that idea?
Well, yeah, I just want to know how much of a low hanging fruit is this, right? I mean, is it something? Is it like, oh, we just need a really simple smart contract that we could create, the next month, and it would be a case of, I'm ready to send some money, and it's just going to be held in a smart contract, and the person I'm sending it to is going to get the cash in hand within a couple of minutes. Is that possible?
There's a few things you got to think through, and like Mercy kind of hit on one of them. It's this idea that people don't understand how wallets work right now, and they're actually not that complicated of a concept. Like Yoroi simplifies the whole, wallet concept by making it super easy to just download from the App Store and not have to really worry about, I mean, you control your private key, but you don't have to worry about like the whole full node setup like Daedalus, right? And
right.
And
I think those
even to knock on Daedalus.
I think those types of ideas, though, are a little complicated because, like, even the idea of a private key and holding your private key, it's like, well, private key, what do you mean, private key?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. The rabbit hole is deep.
I would not leave my mom with a private key.
Yeah. But, I think to your point, DC, it's very simple, right? You can do three things with a wallet, right? You can send ADA, you can receive ADA, and you can hold ADA. I mean, those are the kind of the basic functions of any type of crypto wallet that you're going to have. And then outside of that, there's some other functions, but for the most part, those are your main functions.
Let's not forget the fourth, right? Soon you'll be able to basically use any DApp that's built through the Yoroi interface. So that's a whole new world that's coming, but we'll get there soon. We'll get this, but Tashoma, I want to get back to your point, because you were kind of getting on like the mechanics of this system, right? And to kind of hit on it, it would be a smart contract that sits on top of AdaPay that has some sort of either internal decentralized exchange that's working with basically stabilizing the price of M-Pesa or mobile money versus ADA, right? Like there would have to be some sort of internal kind of exchange mechanism that's allowing merchants who have a ton of M-Pesa or mobile money, usually the telecoms in Africa, right, to basically set up shop on top of ADA Pay with these smart contracts. They'll receive ADA. The smart contract will transact ADA for the M-Pesa or mobile money or South African Rand or any other currency, right? And then the person, the output, right, who's actually receiving the funds, they're just going to receive whatever local currency they want and select, right? It could even be up to them.
Would it be in cash or would it have to be to their bank account?
It would be digital. It would be to their wallet, right? So their M-Pesa, how do you there's a wallet for M-Pesa on your phones, right? That you can trade it on. You can use it for microfinance, all these things. It would be the same kind of concept pretty much.
And would you need permissions from M-Pesa to like develop on top of it?
See, that's the question. That's the interesting part. I don't know if M-Pesa has the APIs that would just allow for something like that to kind of naturally take place if a developer wanted to go build that tomorrow. They may, right? Mobile money and M-Pesa may be that open in terms of developers building applications on top of their network. I just don't know. Like it would take some time to research.
So I actually looked into that. So in Kenya, when they were doing M-Pesa, there was a small company around at the time that was integrating M-Pesa with cryptocurrency payments, and they got shut down just because it was like a legal gray area at the time, and they like M-Pesa just didn't want to have to deal with it. But things like that ring alarm bells. I'm like, oh, okay, there we go, another centralized institution trying to like rain in our parade almost. Is like, I kind of see it like stable coins are the way around that. You know what I mean? Like, who needs M-Pesa when you have a stable coin already?
If there was a stable coin, which there will be on the Cardano network, because I know with the interoperability that they're talking about being able to connect with other networks, at some point it's going to be like, if you have a DAI stable coin or something like that, there's going to be kind of a representation on the Cardano blockchain for that particular stable coin. So I do see that as being something that's probably not very far away at all, but it still kind of comes down to there has to be that way where you convert the digital currency into the native currency, because the companies and organizations in those communities are only going to accept a currency that they can then take and use. So I do think that's a huge use case.
we can get them on
Right.
stable coins.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Or
huge.
ADA, right? I mean, so
Or ADA,
stable coins are the bridge during this time of high variability, right? Like just any cryptocurrency hasn't really stabilized in value yet, right? And so we're waiting for that to happen. Stable coins might provide a bridge there. But I have a question for you guys. I mean, do you all think in terms of ADA yet? Like, do you have a concept for that in your head? Like, this is worth something?
I'm gonna be honest, no.
Right,
Like
right.
every time I look at my ADA account, I'm looking at it in terms of
Mm-hmm.
how many US
Converting
dollars
it,
it
you're
has
converting it
currently.
to local. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although ADA is not a currency, though, right? It's a utility token. So I mean, it has a value because we're basically identifying the value of the utility of the token. But ADA is not. I mean, you're going to be able to pay with ADA just like you can pay with Ethereum now. But Ethereum again is not it's a utility token. It's not a currency per se. You know what I mean? So I do think that like what you guys say, I think at some level, because if you're a merchant, because I mean you look at systems today, and like legacy systems hold on for a very long time. You know, they're not going to change, you know, really quick. So I think that as we and I think it was either Andreas Antonopoulos, I think it was Andreas Antonopoulos that talked about this, where you have before you get mass adoption of something like a cryptocurrency or these tokens, that there has to be this infrastructure that's created. And the analogy that he used was when cars were created, you know, there were no roads at that point. So you had cars trying to drive on the same roads that horses drive on, and they're falling in a ditch, and everybody's laughing at them like, look at this dumb stuff. You know, why you just get the horse, you know? But over time, the roads or the infrastructure was created that supported both the car and the horse. And you look at today, if you see somebody out on your street with a horse, you're probably like, okay, you know. But I think that it's going to be the same thing with how we transition into this digital economy. There's going to be organizations like AdaPay and other organizations that are going to build that highway in a sense. And then at some point, we're going to, you know, transition a little bit more over into digital currencies, and at that point we'll be able to, you know, go in the store and swipe our phone, and the transaction will happen right then and there, and it'll convert to whatever, you know, currency the store owner wants, because the store owner has a say so in that too, right? Because it depends on what they receive, that determines the value that they're receiving at some level, right? So they have a choice in that too, like what I want to receive. Maybe I don't want Ethereum, maybe I want an ADA, or I want some, you know, I want, you know, dollars or whatever it is. So I think as we start to you know, kind of get that infrastructure in place, I think that you're going to be able to, you know, swipe your phone or send something, and it'll automatically convert it into whatever the merchant wants.
So there's this idea of being able to exchange value, right? But then also there's just the idea of whether or not it has intrinsic worth, right? Like we can all think in terms of our local currency and be like, oh, I can say to myself, oh, it would be nice to have $100 in my pocket right now, like, because I know what that does for me. That's easy. And love them or hate them, there's a critical mass of people across the planet who agree that like gold and silver coins might be worth something, right? And so they're able to tell the story of intrinsic value there. Does ADA have an intrinsic value it's worth holding on to?
Well,
Yeah, it does. We just saw it today, right? Everyone who's been staking ADA just receive a cash flow, right? If you hold ADA, you hold the right to all future cash flows and transactions on the Cardano protocol. The whole point of having a token, right, is to align the incentives, right? That so in my opinion, right, we kind of think, and Sydney, to your point, like, is it a currency yet? Because, you know, I go back to my time in England, right? I wasn't thinking in US dollars then, I was thinking in British pounds, right? And, you know, when I went to Italy last summer, I was thinking in euros. And, you know, if I go to South Africa, I got to think in rand. So it's not actually about, you know, the actual currency, because if I'm in Japan, I'm not thinking about any of those things. I'm thinking about, you know, a totally different yen, the totally different currency, right? So people can learn to adopt a currency pretty quickly. And here's how. You set limits. Bitcoin is 21 million. There's a whole religion around 21 million ever only being the Bitcoin supply in the future, right? There's a whole like meme culture that's surrounded that. For ADA, it's 45 billion, right? And you can do the math. You can look at the emission rate. You can look at the inflation rate. ADA is actually a pretty stable deflationary asset to hold in terms of the schedule and the future of how it's going to be released for inflation rewards. So these cash flows I just mentioned, right? We all get those because we're stakers in the Cardano system, no different than Bitcoin miners, right? But the rate at which we get paid into the future, that's called the inflation schedule, right? ADA's is very deflationary, meaning that over time, holding that asset, because the supply never changes, it's fixed, should go up in value. So it's actually more like an asset and a currency bundled into the same thing, right? But then you look at the fact that you get cash flows on it, you can, you know, leverage ADA, you can use it as an underlying asset for a stable coin, right? We talked about this idea in the future of using ADA as collateral for all of these smart contracts and stable coins that you can earn interest on that. These make ADA an investment too, right? So now it's this 3 vehicle, and don't forget, you know, there's governance and utility built into that. So ADA plays all these different roles that are, you know, I guess way different than anything we've seen to date.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think to try to say, you know, it's just a currency or it's just an asset, it's kind of missing the kind of all-encompassing purpose of the token in like a smart contract network like Cardano.
So I think to that point, you think about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is deflationary, right? And that's why Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network, or the Bitcoin protocol network, people that hold Bitcoin, they're hodlers for life. I mean, because you don't want to get rid of a deflationary asset, because if you get rid of it in 5 years, it's going to be worth more than it was when you had it. You know, so I think, like, and back to the point of the stable coin, what a stable coin is a token that's pegged to a currency, right? So that's what makes a stable coin, is that it's pegged to a currency for the most part. And they're getting really creative about how they're pegging. So they're not relying on, for instance, just the US dollar or some currencies that we're familiar with. You know, there's a basket of currencies that some of these stable coins are coming off with, or even DAI, you know, which is algorithmically, kind of programmed the way that it holds its value. But I think in a general sense, the reason that we've even been able to get any growth in my opinion, in crypto at all, is because of this idea of stablecoin. Because prior to that, we didn't know what to do with our tokens. It's like, I can't pay for anything with it, and there's not going to be any payment systems. And then, like, if I'm trading it, just by holding it in my account, I might lose money. So I can at least now, maybe get some gains, trade, and my portfolio appreciates in value, and then I can take part of that portfolio and leave it on the network, on the digital network, in a stable kind of account. So it's going to be interesting, and I think these are all of the questions that everybody in the community has, right? And they haven't been solved. And I think up until DeFi, we were stagnant, because I don't even know what the killer app was before DeFi. I mean, we've been kind of just floating around, and now DeFi has finally come along.
Well, the killer app before DeFi was stablecoins. It was like,
that's very true. Yeah,
it was stablecoins. Everyone was like, how the hell could I just keep my portfolio stable? And I was actually surprised that stablecoins haven't caught on with retailers as of yet. I mean, I thought that was the whole point. I thought when we saw stablecoins, now retailers have no excuse to not accept crypto, right? Because it's exchangeable for dollars immediately. But for some reason, we still haven't seen the mainstream adoption that we all imagined to see 5 years ago. And
that mechanism, I'm sorry, I was just going to say, that mechanism is not there. How do they receive it? Because they can't receive it on their phone.
Cash in, cash out is tough. That's right. Missing. And Tashoma, to your point, you could argue stablecoins is the first form of DeFi. All DeFi is in its current instance is just wrapped stablecoins that are earning interest,
right?
And usually tied to leverage products. That's all DeFi really is.
Right.
And kind of simplistic when you kind of think about what they've managed to do compared to what we can do. Charles talks about creating an African stablecoin that basically bunches different portfolio weights of each African currency into a stable coin that could, you know, maybe even use some of gold as a part of its weight, maybe some of the US dollars, some of the Swiss franc, some of the South African rand, right? Like all these different currencies can then actually make up this like African Union stable coin, right? And that could work on Cardano. Like there's no reason why we couldn't power a solution like that. Like that's what I think about, you know, DeFi, like going mainstream, to be honest.
All right. So, but talking about adoption, right? Like, if we look at something like M-Pesa or even Orange credits in West Africa, right? The reason why these tokens or credits gained adoption, because that's what they are. They're essentially just phone credits initially. The reason they gained adoption and started to be used as currency was because they had a key application to them was, okay, I can use these credits to charge up my phone so I can call someone, you know what I mean? I can use these credits to pay for my bills, you understand what I mean? And when you can like serve those interests, like those base interests that the majority of people have, that's when it starts to have value. But right now, if you go to West Africa and you start talking about DAI, or you start talking about any of these other stable coins, people like will look at you like, what can I do with this? And what's the point, right?
Right.
And, you know, my fears come from the idea of like, okay, we are in this transition stage right now. There's a lot of institutions that are working on projects to bring crypto to Africa, right? But I mean, is that in the interest of Africans? Like if, say, a large company like Orange or Visa or PayPal decide to just integrate crypto and give everyone access to crypto, like, yeah, maybe in the long run, it's going to have a positive effect because there's a bit more decentralization. But right now, I kind of see everything that's happening as like a wealth, a transfer of wealth, right? And I think it would be key for us to like, you know, work on some kind of project that would increase like real adoption of stable coins without any intermediaries in West Africa, right? And I was just thinking like, how would we do that? One of the ideas we came up with was how we could potentially set up a mesh network using Cardano. Could anyone go into that? What's a mesh network?
Joshua, you want to jump on that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, from my, I just kind of like went through what's it called, Right Mesh to you know, basically look at what they're doing. I think from what I got, like mesh networks are like, you know, network connection, like what is like spread on dozens and hundreds of nodes, you know, that talk to each other to share network connection across you know, maybe smaller, large areas. So so basically, I think that would be you know, the concept alone of mesh network is just like kind of should I say revolutionary, because you know, in Nigeria, like we have I mean, Sydney, you know, like we have like issues with like internet connection, and also internet is very, very expensive, but it's still not, you know, really good. But you know, with things like mesh networks and allowing people to you know, have, you know, their smartphones with, you know, Wi-Fi or just to transmit and send you know, messages, and then you can incentivize that with some kind of native token there, just to make sure people use it. That is like, if that can be built on top of like Cardano, that will, you know, create some kind of adoption, you know, to allow people to, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that that's what you're going to build. So we'll just wait until you get it built. But yeah, there's no doubt.
I would love to have my guys, you know, play around with that and see if we can come up with something once we start. So the idea is actually to, I mean, with, you know, when you talk of adoption, like we tell like in Nigerian that, okay, buy ADA. I mean, they need to know why they should buy ADA. Like it needs to be like solving some kind of thing for them. So we have to think in terms of like, you know, deal in terms of, you know, solving particular issues and allowing, like in Nigeria, we have like light problems. We have different kind of issue. We have internet issue. If we can say, okay, let's address this and find a way to like solve this problem with Cardano, And then everybody is just going to say, oh, this happened because of Cardano. So what is this Cardano? And they'll buy Cardano because Cardano has solved this problem. So we can start solving like, problems one by one. And then that will create some kind of ripple effect and allow everybody to know how this problem is solved, why it is solved, and then they can embrace it. So for like Bitcoin, most of the young people that actually bought Bitcoin, they just FOMO'd into Bitcoin, to be honest with you, because I bought Bitcoin and I got some kind of value, or I got increase in my. So I told my friend, hey, I bought this Bitcoin. If you had 10,000 naira and you bought Bitcoin in like 2 months, it must have gone to 12,000 naira. And like, oh, really? So now they want to buy Bitcoin because of the incentive, right? So with Cardano, we can say, hey, if you're using Cardano, we just tokenize, let's say real estate, which would be actually a really big thing in Africa. If you can tokenize real estate. And if people buy this stuff, you're actually lowering the barrier for them to enter into crypto, because you're actually giving them value that they need. Because real estate is actually big in Africa, but not everybody can enter into that kind of market. So things like that, building solution to onboard people, by lowering the entry point for them. So that is the,
I was just gonna say, I think those are two use cases. I mean, those are like two huge use cases. Number one, internet, because I'm not sure what your experience was, Mercy, in Ghana, but I do know that, the time that I've had to spend with Joshua and then my friends that are in South Africa, the internet is crappy. And then Joshua was telling me how much he pays more for his internet than I pay for mine, and it's not good internet. And I personally believe that's by design, because the specific question that I asked my friends in South Africa is that, okay, fair enough, your internet keeps cutting out, but the corporations and the government, does their internet cut out as well, or is it just like, in the community that you're in? And they were like, no, I mean, the governments and the corporations, the internet works fine, which means that they have the pipe, you know what I mean? It's coming onto the continent and they're cutting the pipe, at the ISP. And my personal belief is, it's just me, you know what I mean, is that that's intentional, because if they can do that, then they can prevent you from, having easy, unfettered access to data and to information. I have my friends, actually, their daughter attends Carnegie Mellon here in the States. And she actually tells her parents when she goes back after being in South Africa for 2 weeks that, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I can't stay here anymore. I can't get the data. The internet connections is not good enough. So she's actually literally leaving, to come back to the States simply because she can't get the data, although the pipes are there. So like the mesh network, it creates a localized network. So you have the whole global internet. You can actually cut. So once a mesh network has been set up and there's data flowing through the network, you can actually cut the pipe from the main internet, and folks, that data that exists will still flow through that mesh networks. And then I know there's two specifically that I sent. There are the dishes, which you can create a mesh network to send data back and forth, and then there's also the right mesh, I think it was, that I sent you, where they've identified a way to push that data through cell phones. So let's say that I want to send a message to Mercy. It doesn't have to go through the internet in order for me to get that message to her. So when I send the message, it'll hit DC's phone, then it'll hit Tashoma's phone, then it'll hit James' phone, then it'll hit Joshua's phone.
I don't want people reading my messages.
Well, that wasn't your message. It was actually mine. But but the way that I get what you're saying, because there's this sense of being exposed. But yeah, it's just using the technology in your phone, and it uses Bluetooth and some other technologies in your cell phone in order to push that information to a local network. So that's just a way of I'm sorry.
Yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead.
I mean, it does even more because like the government don't control that, right?
Right.
In Ethiopia, like just recently, you can Google it. The government shut down the internet. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I was trying to get to John O'Connor, like the guy in Africa, and I was lucky because he had internet saying. He had internet because he was in a government building.
Mm.
So government had internet, but the citizens didn't have internet. So they cannot cut out the internet, and it's done in a decentralized way. So nobody can control. It's like every time you try to make your life better in Africa, sadly, most times it's always, comes up as you being, it has to be rebellious in a way. You have to go against the government to make your life better, which is the whole nature of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. It's not dependent on them. It's not dependent on the power above. It's just, the people. It's from ground up, right? The people are solving their problem by themselves, and that's the only way it can work. So the mesh network is actually needed because it will eliminate all these big corporations, these service providers that actually just steal money and don't really give service, right? And I'm just happy like my network hasn't even cut out yet, but usually it doesn't stay up this long. But I paid for it. You see, it's pay as you go, but you're paying for what you're not enjoying. It's not really doing its job. It's like us paying for power here, but we still get power cuts. Right. So what's the point of paying? It's just stupid. So
actually, when it comes to blockchain and the fact that it's decentralized, it's almost as if it was created for Africa, right? Because there's just so much control, in terms of what Josh was talking about. The government, for some reason, it's easy for governments to sort of, take over certain things. But when it comes to blockchain, it's decentralized, and and sometimes some of these mesh networks, then the power actually decentralizes down to the people, right? So it's just average person, power down to the people, and to the outskirts, so to speak. And once big corporations and even governments see that, okay, now it looks like the money and the power and the the businesses is sort of getting decentralized, then even big corporations, some of these big phone companies, then they sort of, now they kowtow, and then they sort of try to become more competitive. So, when it comes to blockchain and its decentralization, I think Africa, and when we do say Africa quite a bit on this, on this network, but we use Africa as more or less a pilot, because if it works for Africa, it will work for most developing countries. So it looks like this is a good solution to some of the I don't want to say corruption, but some of the challenges that tend to occur in developing countries.
All right, guys. So it seems like we got around 10 minutes left. We did want to keep these episodes short, 45 minutes. So let's just do a quick run through all of these revolutionary ideas that we came up with for applications of Cardano, and then hopefully we can just come to some decision as to which one we want to try and work on, which one is the lowest hanging fruit that we can work on together over the next month or 2 months, 3 months. So just
before we jump into the list, can I just, I mean, this is why this whole podcast exists, right? Like, none of us are experts on how to build on Cardano yet, right? We're all learning. And we kind of want to model what that journey is, right? So a lot of us on this call have ideas for what we're going to implement, right? And some of us are building teams in our locations and are participating in Project Catalyst. So as we go into this list of what exactly we might build, coming attractions for next episode is like each of us can share kind of our angle on how we're getting in and how we see this podcast as that opportunity to learn alongside. This is decentralization at work. None of us are perfect Marlowe experts yet, but we'd like to be.
Yeah, exactly. So this is an opportunity for anyone listening at home, anyone who's confused by all the lingo that we're talking about, whether it be stable coins or ISPs or whatever you want to call it. This is a way that you can kind of get stuck in from the beginning and grow with us. It's a great opportunity. So here's a few of the ideas. how to set up a staking pool to replace your local bank. All right, how to create a decentralized smart contract to exchange crypto for cash. How to create a stable coin for local businesses to be able to sell online without payment processes. How to create a decentralized SUSU or ROSCA to replace your credit union. Should I explain some of these as I'm going along? Actually, I'll just finish the list. How to set up a mesh network to expand internet in your community. How to set up a crowd fund for your next great business idea or community project. How to expand and fund your skill craft using crypto. How to authenticate your products so that they sell for more online. How to build a decentralized marketplace to replace eBay. And how to create a sharing economy in your community to earn money from unused equipment, tools, land, or energy. And lastly, how to set up a secure and decentralized voting ballot for local governance. So a lot of powerful ideas. Which one should we go for?
Wait, so I can do all those things starting today?
Right. Easy peasy.
Catch me up on that. So what's the status of Cardano? Are we ready right now to do all these things, or are we waiting for a few things to roll out?
Yeah, I think we're waiting a couple months. You know, Goguen isn't here yet. We still need to wait on smart contracts. But I think that anyone who wants to get their hands, you know, really in the weeds right now, the playgrounds are pretty stable. Like if you just Google Plutus Playground, Marlowe Playground, like you'll be able to get, you know, a 99% complete smart contract environment, dev environment, right? That you can start building on and saving that code to GitHub. And like, you know, I want to make this pretty like clear, like, especially as someone in Project Catalyst, like the developers on Cardano are going to make money and get paid either through community funding or the fees that the applications and products they build just cost built into the actual smart contracts. So like there's you know, opportunity here for upcoming devs. You know, I build a product that allows anyone in Africa, like Josh said, you know, real estate is booming and big. If I can build a product that ties into Prism that allows anyone to attest to a land deed, you know, basically just allow your local government to, at the predefined start of that like land deed or contract or sale of the house, basically attest to who the owner is and who's now owns the land deed. And then from that point on, that land deed owner has basically a tokenized version of that deed. Like if I'm an African dev and I build that product and I sell that, right, and I just make 1%, 0.5% transaction fee each time someone uses that smart contract, like that's huge. That's massive. You're talking about millions probably of ADA in the future of money that will be made just through these products that get built. So in Marlowe lies a huge opportunity for any African finance, business, econ student or dev who really wants to build financial products that they can sell today. And I don't think that we should think that, you know, you need to wait on Goguen mainnet or launch. You know, Goggen's going to be here in 2-3 months. Like that's really right around the corner. Like,
yeah, it's like here, right now, you know, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And, you know, I just wanted to throw, I'm sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to throw this out there as well. Yeah. So, and, you know, Joshua said this as well, you know, so it's, or I'm sorry, Mercy said this, like we're using, in a sense, you know, what we want to do in Africa is a pilot, but we talk about Africa and we talk about the diaspora, because I know in the United States where I'm from, because I'm from Detroit metro area, and there are a lot of challenges, you know, and there have been a lot of challenges for a very, very, very long time. And the people that I know, that I grew up with, do not have access to this technology, you know, so it's also important that, that we start to empower people in places and in neighborhoods that that are just as brilliant as anybody else. You know what I mean? To be able to you know, start using this technology simply for being able to participate in the future. It's not fair that they cannot participate in the future like everyone else, and then when they don't participate in the future, people say that, well, they're you know, they don't work hard enough, or they need to go to school, or whatever all of the crap that they say about, you know, folks that are growing up in neighborhoods that that don't have the same resources as people that are growing up in other neighborhoods. So just kind of throwing that out there, because Africa and the diaspora is massive, you know, and we all have this knowledge sharing kind of potential. And yeah, it's very inclusive, you know what I mean? And we're just trying to figure out stuff. You know, I think all of us are tired of being taken advantage of by people who have more than us and stacking the cards in their favor. So we just, you know, believe that you know, everybody should have a chance to kind of, you know, have the basics handled and be able to, you know, think in a way that they can be creative and reach towards their dreams as well.
And you can do that with Marlowe, just to clarify. You can do that with Marlowe.
You can do that with Marlowe.
And
We will say yes.
These playgrounds are gorgeous. Like, I mean, this is top tier user experience that anybody can jump into today and start to play around with. And you won't understand everything the very first time. I know I didn't, you know, but you can start on that journey right now, so that as these things are rolled out for real world use, you can be ready for that. I know I have some friends who got hit pretty hard by the pandemic. They don't have their jobs right now. And I'm telling them, hey, like, here's a chance. Here's a book about Haskell. Jump in, read the Plutus book, start playing. Like, this is a chance to do something and be part of something that's really big.
All right, guys.
Just to throw this out, DC, who do you think can actually, you know, create in this center, work in the center? But, you know, just to throw this out to anybody that's watching, who do you need like prior IT experience to actually? So who do you think? How simple is it?
Yeah, Josh, that's a good question. Like, to James's point right here, like, I've always thought of Marlowe as like the system that anyone, whether you even understand finance or not right now, anyone can pick up, build you know, a suite of payment contracts. We've been talking about payments a lot today, that allow you to just streamline the process of paying different parties. Maybe even set up a smart contract like what Boone has done for a developer marketplace that allows, you know, a specific product or service to be paid for after X amount of time. Like, you don't even have to know how to code, have IT experience, or even in this case, have the previous finance experience to get where you need to be in terms of creating a job for yourself as a Marlowe dev. I truly think that we're so early in this process that, like, even me, myself, like, I'm in the same boat as James. Like, I'm going through the tutorial, you know, Marlowe.tutorial, Marlowe Playground. I'm going through, I'm looking at the examples, you know, I'm learning these things. I have the prior finance, so I understand how some of these contracts work, but I'm just at the same level as everyone else in terms of learning how these different contracts get put together. But don't make no mistake. In the future, there will be a job called Marlowe Dev, just like there's Solidity devs on Ethereum that get paid a lot of money, right, to build these contracts, because they build fees into them that people actually use every day, whether it's buying and selling a house or buying tokenized stock, right? Like, you do things like attach bounties to things that really incentivize devs to build cool things. They will learn the language and build them because they'll know that they have a job at the end of the day attached to their ability to build on that platform. So I think that Marlowe is no different. You know, in some cases even easier, because you're not actually coding with Blockly. You're just using, like I said, these different money Legos. But yeah.
All right, so I think we've got a message across. Basically, start learning Marlowe today.
Joe, I think we should like post some links, you know, referencing all the things like TC just said, so people can just jump on it.
We should definitely. But I mean, is it too early for us to choose a project to work on now, or should we leave that for the next episode? I mean, I'm quite keen on the whole idea of just making it easier for people to exchange crypto for cash. I think that's like the first thing. Or maybe mesh networks is the first thing, providing a utility, you know, that they can use crypto for immediately. That's going to provide real value for them.
Or, keen on seeing if we could think about, I like those ideas to show them up, but I'm keen on seeing if we can think about some of real estate. Like what Josh said, like if we can think about the ability to trade a land deed and have, like, in Marlowe, you can have someone called an observer or like a different party who's like basically like in the escrow contract in Marlowe, there's a third party who like attests to the observations or the choices that everyone made, whether you paid or not, basically. What if that was like the local government? So that at the start of the contract, the local government said, you know, X party has the land deed, then a sale of the home takes place, the land deed gets transferred, and it's all recorded in the blockchain. Like, I'm just like, brainstorming, but if something like that could be a potential, I think that would be really cool.
Yo, maybe this is something we should leave for our audience to decide.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That mesh network idea, I say we build towards the mesh network, but we need a few building blocks on our way there, to arrive at that point.
Also talked about it too, the mesh network idea. He's talked about, like, in the second funding, I guess, that IOHK is going to ask for the community from 2021 for the next 4 years, like to think about something like a mesh network or like a satellite network that runs the Cardano protocol.
Mm-hmm.
But like, how can we combine that with something like what SpaceX is working on, right? With these like mini mesh networks, like the possibilities, I'm sure, are endless. We just have to think really deep about them.
And I can see like mesh network like completely like eliminating these service providers we have here once people catch on to it.
I know we're getting ready to jump off, but it's there already. So the link that I put in the Slack channel, those are dishes that have a 10-mile radius that were created by the folks that created the first Wi-Fi adapters. So these are folks that that's what they do. That's what they love to do, and they've created the most advanced satellite dishes that exist. They're open source. So all you need is Linux, and you can basically program these dishes. So that exists today, and it's $200. So literally $400, you could put up 2 of these dishes today, and you would have an internet, a network with a 10-mile radius. So as far as like being able to figure out how to charge for it, creating a marketplace for the data that was flowing through, that's probably a little bit different, but that exists today. I mean, my friend has it in his house. You know what I mean? It's like he's got this network set up, in his home, and he uses all of these devices. So yeah, just throwing that out there, that like that exists. Like, yes, you can buy it off the internet right now. You know what I mean? $200 each dish.
$200.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't really encourage people here to buy it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I think it's a great idea because at the end of the day, all of this stuff is really cool. The bottleneck for data and information is happening at the internet level. And based on my experience with you and what you're telling me, Joshua, that you're paying for your internet service, based on the experience that I had with my friends in South Africa, that's the thing, that's the thing that's keeping, one group here and one group here. And if you can eliminate that, if you can increase the throughput, the information sharing at the local level, that's going to accelerate everything that's going on. That way, you're not waiting for internet connection. So, I mean, there's a bunch of like projects that are out there that I think kind of facilitate ways of improving the local community. But when I was thinking about it, I'm like, they don't have internet. They don't. I mean, we have internet. They don't have internet. So, since we're moving into the digital world, it seems like one of the first places that you would want to start is kind of decentralizing internet, democratizing internet, so that everybody has access to internet, and the ideas that flow after that point are going to be very expansive.
So Josh has a catalyst proposal. DC's got a handful of catalyst proposals. I've got one. Can we tune in next week to talk about how each of our proposals is hoping to kind of move towards that goal?
I want to talk about it now, but we're out of time.
I know.
But yeah,
in my mind, these episodes could go for 4 hours, but nobody wants to watch that.
Easy. Right.
But yeah, let's save up the next episodes, guys. Next episodes, guys. And yeah, thanks for coming together again. AfroFinLab, episode 3.
Epic 213. All right.
All right, nice one, guys. Have a great day.
All right, guys.
So Tashoma, you just wrapped up, but we don't have to jump off. It's still recording. And you know what I mean? So you just kind of cut the podcast. We can talk as long as we want to.
So, cut.